One of the things we hear a lot from the parents that we are working with is how important they feel it is to raise resilient children, confident children. Um, and in your view, you've touched on some of this already. What do you think children growing up today need most from the adults around them, whether that be their parents or other mentors or teachers, for them to feel a sense of security, a sense of, being valued and a sense that they belong?
Mm. Well, the key word is kindness. If we are consistently treating them, I mean, you can discipline a child kindly.
Mm,
You can terminate a relationship kindly. You can fire someone kindly. We can do everything kindly
mm,
once we develop the mindset that this is going to be my way of being in the world. And that's what children most need because parents treating them kindly are saying, you are valued.
mm,
Look, I take you seriously. Probably the most eloquent expression of kindness. And again, it's the great gift that we can give our children, and the great example we can set for them is to listen, to
mm.
attend,
Yeah.
not to be so eager always to jump in with the answer or the solution or with my view or to point out how wrong you are about this. We are not entitled to disagree with each other, even with our kids, until we've heard the other person's point of view. Listening is an act of courage because when we listen,
Mm,
we are running the risk of being changed by what we hear. And for most people, the prospect of being changed by what we hear or being changed in any way is terrifying. Don't tell me I have to change, and don't tell me I have to change in response to something my own kids are saying to me. Don't tell me that. Well, yes, sorry. If you are the test of whether you are really listening to this conversation or to your own children, the test is, am I running the risk of being changed by what I hear? And if
mm.
I'm not running that risk, I'm not really listening. I'm just going through the motions. I'm just hearing. I hate it when people say, I hear what you say. No,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I don't want you to do, I know your ears are working. The
Yeah.
question is, are you listening? And listening is a different thing. Setting the example to our children of listening. First of all, when we listen to them, they know more confidently than by anything else we do for them. They
Mm,
know mum and dad are taking me seriously. They might think I'm silly, and I feel a bit silly, and I might be a bit silly, but I just need to say this. I'm worried about this. Let me hear me out. And that's our great gift to our own children. That's how we build their resilience, their confidence, their sense of security. They know that they will be listened to, not brushed aside.
mm,
The other thing I think, and this is the great burden of parenthood, of course, we have to remember that regardless of what we say to our kids, all the time they are learning from what they observe. We are their most powerful examples. We say as they get older, oh, social media, in the grip of social media or something, or peer group preference, all those things have a huge influence on the development of kids. But the primary influence, even in 2026, even in the age of
mm,
artificial intelligence, the primary influence on kids is their parents.
mm,
And we have to remember that how we act towards each other is teaching them how adults can relate to each other. How we act towards our strange neighbours who are very different from us is teaching them how we deal with diversity, how we accommodate, how we show kindness to people that we don't share anything much with and certainly don't agree with. The example is the big teacher, and the best example of all is good listening. I think one of the dangers, while we're on this subject, is that we think the way to build children's resilience is to constantly praise them. And
mm.
we're wrong about that.
Yeah.
It is possible to overpraise kids. There's no point in praising someone for doing something that they shouldn't have done or
Mm,
didn't do as well as they might have. Let's be realistic about that. You know,
Mm.
I cringe when I hear parents say, "Oh, good try," when it wasn't a good try at all. It was some kid just being slack. You know, that wasn't a good try.
Yeah.
And we mustn't overpromise. We mustn't say, you know, you can be what you can be anything. You're such an angel. You're so perfect. You're so wonderful. You can be anything. All we're doing is setting them up for disappointment, which will probably happen in late adolescence, and send them off to therapy because the world isn't treating them as nicely as their parents promised them it would. Let's not overpromise. Let's simply equip them with the skills they need for making their way in a difficult, complex world. And the primary one is showing kindness and listening to what other people have to say. Not that we're going to be complicit, we're not making ourselves doormats.
Mm.
Listening to someone might lead to a really vigorous argument with that
Yeah.
person. I'm qualified to have the argument if I have first listened. And if I haven't first listened, I'm not qualified.
Mm. The art of listening is just so incredibly powerful and something that we can easily forget to do because we are in many ways like conditioned ourselves to listen to respond, to just have the next response to what someone has
Yes,
said to us.
yes,
And,
very true.
one thing that I try and challenge myself with is to listen to understand.
Yeah,
And that
yes,
takes a lot more focus.
yes.
It means turning off, getting my response ready,
Mm,
particularly with kids when you're in that position where you want to support them, but actually going into solve mode or going into correcting or trying to redirect them when actually just pausing all of that noise in your head,
mm,
and trying to truly listen to understand,
mm,
um, can be, you know, easier said than done. Um, but something that has been a really powerful reminder to
mm.
me. I've noticed that a question's come up on the chat saying, or asking, how can parents enhance their listening, which unconsciously they might not realize? So in the middle of their kids talking, they will, then they'll just jump in and give their opinion.
Yeah,
Have you got any advice on that?
absolutely. There's a very simple discipline. And it relates to what you were just saying, Bill, listening to understand. And there's an extra step. I listen to understand, and before I respond, I need to show that I understand.
Mm,
The crucial ingredient in the process of conversation, in the crucial ingredient in the art of listening, is not just that I will patiently listen, I will actually entertain your ideas, I'll be courageous enough to be open to what you're saying, but before I have my say,
mm,
I will prove my understanding. I will say, now, okay, have I got this straight? Are you saying X, Y, Z? You know, is this what you mean? Do you mean this and this and this? I want to be sure I'm inside your head. Is this how you feel about? Is this what you're saying? And then get the check. Yeah, no, that's not what I was saying at all. Like, well, let's run through that again. Or yeah, okay. I mean, that is a beautiful sound to a child.
mm,
Mum or dad or auntie or brother or sister or anyone is showing me
mm,
that they have taken me seriously enough to actually play back to me what I was trying to say. Now I feel understood. It's no good cutting across saying, yeah, 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 I know what you're saying, yeah, and then jump in with, but don't you realize that? No, no. Listen, understand, prove that you understand, and
mm,
then respond.
mm.
Receive before you react. And part of receiving is
Yeah.
demonstrating that I got it.
Yeah, I think that's the critical step, isn't it? It's taking a moment, taking a beat to show them, actually show them. that you understand by asking a clarifying question,
Yes.
or like you said, saying, now just want to make sure that I understand
Yeah.
what you're saying. And even the act of doing that is showing them that what they think matters.
Yeah.
And,
Yes. It
adding in
does.
that one step.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Showing them that it matters because it does matter.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think I've got to go and redo a few conversations that I've had with my with my kids now, because I actually know this, but you forget it when you're in the cauldron of everyday life. But talking about our, the beginning of our conversation, how you talked about one of our most powerful human needs is to feel that we belong, that we are seen and valued, showing that we are listening and that we understand someone's view
mm.
on something, no matter how big or small, is such a powerful and beautiful way to reinforce that value.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I'd just add a little cautionary note here too. We won't ever be perfect at this. We won't always get it right. When I hear people saying, I'm the victim of flawed parenting, I feel like saying to them, flawed parenting, that's another way of saying parenting.
Exactly.
I mean, none of us, none of us achieve some mythical gold standard. Of course, we occasionally fall short, and even to our own kids, we need to be prepared to admit that.
Yeah.
To say at breakfast, look, last night I was a bit tired and I was a bit impatient and I didn't really listen to you, and I'm really sorry. Let's run through that again. Of course, we fall short, and being a human,
Yeah.
being a member of an essentially cooperative species in which kindness is the lubricant that runs the social machinery, it is a tough gig, Bill. I mean, I've said it should come as naturally as breathing, but it still requires an effort to remember when someone is being really obnoxious or unpleasant, to remember that we can complain kindly. A
Mm,
neighbour's pool pumpers annoying us at 11 o'clock at night, we need to ask them to turn it off. We can do that kindly. It is a tough gig. And one thing I'd say as a result of that, although we are essentially communitarians, although we are social creatures who absolutely need each other, we're hopeless in isolation. We need families, neighborhoods, schools, workplaces to nurture us, to sustain us, to give us that all important sense of belonging we've been talking about, which is fundamental to our
mm,
mental and emotional health. But we also need time off. We
mm,
also need quiet time. We need time to recharge our batteries. We need a bit of solitude, a bit of meditation or walking or listening to music or something,
mm,
because it is a very demanding thing
mm,
belonging to the. We could have been some other kind of species. We could have been Neanderthals or something, and it wouldn't have mattered so much. But like many other species on the planet, the very fact that we need each other and that
mm,
we owe it to the species to live by the rule of kindness means we've got to have a bit of time out. We've got to
mm.
we've got to nurture ourselves as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I think we each have different levels that we need to top up at different times, but
Mm.
recognizing that because we are such a social species, like we are giving a lot, we're collaborating a lot, we're connecting a lot, and that uses up energy. And for some people, it uses up more energy than others. And
Yes.
so, working out what that is for you and working out what you need to fill your energetic bank balance so that you can come back and behave in a way that's true to your values, I think is really important. And I think demonstrating that to our children is really important as well, because they, sometimes mistakenly believe that you don't need to have that downtime because they are growing up in a world where it is like on 24/7. And, there is, no matter what time of day you can switch on a screen and get all the stimulation you
Yes.
desire. And so if we don't put those things in place for ourselves, society really isn't going to do that for us.
Yes. Yes.
Mm. Yeah.
Yes. And again, that's example too. I mean, we need to be encouraging our kids to have quiet time when they're not expected to be socializing, and definitely not on a screen.
Mm.
Um, and that's a question of example too. I mean, I saw a sad sight quite recently in someone's home where the father was sitting in a lounge chair scrolling through his smartphone, and one of the kids came into the room having been out somewhere. Hi, Dad. So
Mm.
father just kept scrolling,
Mm.
not a flicker. And we're complaining about kids who get lost in the screen. We all can get lost in the screen. That's not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about recharging the battery. No screen, no contact, just
Yeah.
a bit of quiet time,
Yeah.
an absence of stimulation.
Yeah, absolutely. We just coming in from the long weekend, and we've got a chat, a team chat, and everyone was sharing what they got up to on the long weekend to recharge their batteries after a really busy time. And there were no photos of screens. It was all photos of being in nature,
Yeah.
being with people they loved, connecting with those things that are really human. There was no one saying I had the most amazing long weekend staring at my phone. It was it was
Uh,
all it was all about being with other human beings
yeah,
or being out in nature.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, and that connection with nature, we haven't talked about that at all, but that's an integral part of this whole thing that we're not just a cooperative species. We have to cooperate with the planet that sustains us.
Mm.
And to be in touch with nature is a crucial part. And another thing we can be doing for our children, developing their resilience, their confidence, their sense of being
Mm.
part of a greater whole. It's not
Yeah.
just the human family, it's the planet.